There was a man driving through a West Texas plains one spring evening. He was in a very isolated area and hadn't seen a soul for hours. Suddenly, his car started to cough and sputter, and then it died. Well, with car trouble alongside the road in West Texas in the middle of the night, he could be there for hours before another car comes by. So he pops the hood, looks underneath it, but he doesn't know anything about cars. He's a lot like your pastor, I guess. So he just stands there looking at the engine, right? Ever do that? Like maybe if I look at it long enough, something will fix it. Completely helpless, he has a little flashlight, which is now dying because he forgot to put batteries in it. And then he hears a voice. The voice says, "It's your fuel pump." Of course, the man raises his head so quickly he banged his head on the underside of the hood. Shaking in fear, "Who said that?" He looked around and he didn't see anything except for 2 horses standing along the fence line. Well, I don't know. I must have just been hearing things. So he went back and looked around, looked back at the horse, and the horse, no kidding, looked at the man and said, "It's your fuel pump. Tap it with your flashlight and try it again." Well, the guy thinks he's losing his mind, right? So dazed and confused, he just does it. He taps his fuel pump with the flashlight, turns the key, and sure enough, the car starts. So he's completely baffled by what this means, thinking he's seeing something wrong. So he mutters to the horse, "Thank you," and gets in his car and streams away. Well, a couple miles down the road, he finally gets to the nearest town. The man stops his car, runs into the local bar and says, "Give me a beer and keep them coming." Local rancher looked at him to be sitting at the bar and said, "Man, what's wrong with you? You look like you've seen a ghost." Well, the man said, "I maybe did. I think I might be losing my mind." So he tells the rancher the entire story, and the rancher sits back, tips his hat back, sips on his beer, and he thought, "A horse, you say? By chance, was that a white horse?" The man nodded. He said, "Yeah, am I crazy?" The guy said, "No, you ain't crazy at all. In fact, you're lucky. You know what? That other black horse, he doesn't know a thing about cars." Again, if you're a guest or if you're still watching online, thank you for doing that. We've been in a series called The Real McCoy. What does that story have to do with anything? Nothing. I just wanted to tell it. No, it'll tie you in a second. Trust me. We've been asking the question, what does it mean to be the real McCoy? Because here's the thing. In our world today, we have this myth that we think people are looking for perfection. People who say, "I follow Jesus Christ," we think, oh, they have to have all their stuff together. They have to be perfect. They have to do everything right. That's not what our world is looking for. Our world is looking for people who are real, who are authentic, who say, "You know what, I struggle. Yeah, I blew it, but I'm going to take responsibility and I'm going to make myself do what I need to do." That's what it means to be the real McCoy. And is that what other people say about you? But most importantly, not what other people say about you. Is that what Jesus Christ would say about you? Would Jesus Christ look at you and say, "That's them, that's the real McCoy"? And that's what we've been talking about in this series. And 2 weeks ago, if you missed it, I encourage you to go to our website, yankton.church, our YouTube channel, our podcast. Justin was here, Pastor Justin was here, and he did a fantastic job of sharing his story. Again, I love stories of how God does it. Justin is the real McCoy. And just to tell you a little bit more about Justin today, guess where Justin's going to be at today? Pastor Justin, he's going to be at our sister church in Lake Andes. Many of you know I pastored there for a year. I got a chance to raise up Rod and Tylene Holman, who are doing a great job. Rod and Tylene are going to be gone this weekend. They're going to spend some time with their family. So Justin's going to go down there, and Justin's going to preach and share his message in Lake Andes. Do you think the people of Lake Andes are going to be blessed by that message? Amen, they will be. And how cool is that? And why do I tell you that? Because Justin's the real McCoy. Because I'm going to put a lot of you on the defense right now. Justin works a full-time job. Did you know that? Justin has a marriage. Justin has kids. And oh, by the way, how am I going to spend my Sunday? I'm going to drive to Lake Andes, South Dakota. I'm going to preach a message too. That's what God calls us to be when we're the real McCoy. See, that's awesome. And last week, if you weren't here, again, I encourage you to go back and watch it. We talked about the difficulty we have with mastering our emotions. How do we deal with what we feel? And I made the statement, I said, it's really easy to act like Jesus, but it's really hard to react like Jesus. See, when I wake up in the morning and I'm well fed and I'm feeling good and I'm in a good mood, everything seems to go great, doesn't it? And then you got to get out of bed. And then people happen, and we have to learn to react like Jesus, not just act like that, because our emotions can be tricky, can't they? And I talked to you about claiming our emotions, challenging them, and choosing to change them. So go back and watch that. And again, like I said, every day we've put out these daily devotions. because I don't want you to have this series to feel bad about yourself. I want to equip and empower you. If I say we need to be in God's Word every day, I need to give you a tool that you can use to be in God's Word every day. And for those of you who've been doing that, thank you so much. And I love the fact that the culmination of this series, the last Sunday we're going to do with this series, is October 31st. And that event that we're going to have. So the last Sunday we're going to have this series, then we're going to get a chance to actually live it out. We're going to get a chance to be the real McCoy in our community. How cool is that, church? See, I'm excited for that. So today, we're going to talk about something that's very important. It's called the battle in our mind. And part of our opening story is kind of the tie-in with that, because how we think really makes a big difference in our life, doesn't it? And just like our emotions, how we think, it can either be helpful or it can be harmful, just like that guy trying to start his car. And I'm going to make this statement, if I could just sum this up in one sentence for you. Changing your thinking will change your life. Changing how you think and how you think about things can literally change your life. And I believe with all my heart, and I'll hopefully show you in the next time, as the time we're here together going through this, that God is more interested in changing your thinking than your circumstances. See, I have conversations with people all the time. Talked about this last week where people say, oh, I have a financial problem. You don't have a financial problem. You have a problem thinking about your finances. God wants to change the way you're thinking about your finances. Or I have a problem with my marriage. My spouse would be, no, you have a problem with the way you think about your spouse. And we need to change our thinking. Our kids, our job. Can I even just say it? Even our church. We need to change the way we think about church. Because if you have a problem with the church, more than likely it's a problem is we're thinking about it in the wrong way. And if we change our thinking, it's going to change your life. So if you got your note sheet, on the back of this is blank. The reason why this is blank is because we want you to write this stuff down, because this is things that you can take with you and understand throughout your week. And again, that's why we do that. If you're watching online, you can do that as well. But I'm going to give you 2 facts about our thinking, just to kind of set the table for what we're going to talk about today. I want you to write these down. 2 facts about our thinking. And I've already said the first one. Our thoughts direct our life. Our thoughts direct our life. Ralph Waldo Emerson, the great poet, wrote this statement. I think it's been copied lots of times, but you've probably heard this before. If you sow a thought, you'll reap an action. You sow an action, you'll reap a habit. You sow a habit, you'll reap a character. You sow a character, and you'll reap your destiny. Our thoughts direct our life. And I don't have to look to Emerson to see that. I can look to God's word. Look at what Proverbs Chapter 4, verse 26 says, give careful thought to the path for your feet and be steadfast in all your ways. Your thinking will determine where you go in life. You are where you are in life a large part because of how you choose to think about your life. Here's the second thing we need to understand about our thinking. Our thoughts are a battleground. We are constantly waging war in our mind, and our thoughts are a battleground. And if I could just make it real simple to you, I don't live up to my own expectations. I have an expectation of how I think I should live, and I don't even live up to my own expectations because there's a battle that we've been in. I'll give you a little safe example of this. We all know, everyone in this room knows, that if you want to be healthy in your life, you got to watch what you eat and you got to be physically active. Any doctor will tell you that. Any diet program, any magical pill thing they sell on the internet, those 2 things do it, right? If you eat healthy and you're physically active, your body should stay healthy. But I'm not going to ask for a show of hands. How many of us did that this week? See, right? That's what we have to think about. We know what to be true. We know that to be true, but we have to make that decision, don't we? And sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes it's a battle in my mind. If I wake up in the morning and I'm tired, I don't really feel like exercising. But I know I need to do it, right? And we have to battle that in our mind. Even though we know what's right, we still struggle to act. And if that's you, if you're like me, you're in good company, because look at what the Apostle Paul says in Romans 7. I love this verse. This is one of my favorite verses. I do not understand what I do. For what I want to do, I do not do, but what I hate, I do. Can anybody else relate to that? I'm the only sinner here. Okay, thank you for helping me. I know what I want to do. I know what I should do, but I don't do it. And sometimes I do things that I hate to do, and I think, man, what is wrong with me? We have a battle in our mind to try to decide to do the right thing. So I'm going to give you 3 of those battles that we think about. And I just kind of try to boil these down to make them simple. There's kind of 3 categories of things that we battle about in our thinking. And here's the most powerful one in my life: other people's opinions. We battle with what other people think about me. So much of what we believe comes from listening and watching other people. That's a natural human development. It's actually, sociologists call it mimicking. And you've seen this before in little kids, right? They act like their parents. They say what their parents say. They do what their parents say. Here's the problem with that. Most of us learn from wrong places. Most of us develop poor thinking by watching poor thinkers. Can I just say it that way? Let me give you an example, and this is just to kind of have some fun. This is an all play, so I'm going to ask a question, okay, and I expect you to guess for an answer. If you don't know the answer, that's okay. It's part of the fun, okay? I'm going to ask a question. You guys ready to participate? If you're watching online, you can participate too. We can't hear you, but God can, okay? So talk to your screen. It's okay. Here's the question. What country makes Panama hats? Any guesses? Ecuador. Okay? They get better. Okay. In what month does Russia celebrate the October Revolution? November. She got it right. The October Revolution, they celebrate in November. All right, here's this one. What animal's fur is used to make a camel's hair brush? Anybody know? A squirrel. The Canaries Islands in the Pacific are named for what animal? Nobody wants to say because I know they're dogs. What? What color is a purple finch? Crimson. Here's the last one. Where do Chinese gooseberries come from? New Zealand. Now, why do I say that? Here's why I say that. Because sometimes we give things labels and they're wrong. Right? Why don't we call a Panama hat an Ecuador hat? Just call it the right label. Here's what I want you to understand about other people's opinions. Some of you were told things that were wrong. Some of you were labeled that you were ugly. Somebody did something that made you feel ugly, or they said something that made you feel unky, and I want to tell you that's wrong. Somebody told you at some point in your life that you were no good. And maybe they said it by their words, maybe they did it by their actions. Somebody showed you or told you that you were unloved. Somebody told you that you were stupid. Somebody told you you were slow, you were lazy. And all of us have had those labels put on us. And I need everybody to look right here. None of those things are true. You were labeled wrong because you allowed someone else's opinion of you. And it might have been a parent. It might have been a teacher. It might have been a friend. It might have been a boyfriend, a girlfriend. It might have been a boss. But I'm here to tell you today, it's wrong. Because look at what my God says about you. Psalm 139, verse 14. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. Can I just say it this way? My God doesn't make crap. He makes things beautiful. And if we want to win the battle in our mind, we have to know that what our God says about us is far more important than what other people have told us. Some of us have been labeled wrong by other people, and we have that battle in our mind. Here's the second one, and this one's going to be a little controversial, but you're going to still write it down because I'm going to tell it to you and I'm going to unpack it to you. This is the second thing we battle in our mind, Satan. Now, even by saying that, I know it's like, oh, what kind of church is this, right? There's a lot of names for Satan that our culture has given us. Satan, the devil, the Antichrist, the enemy, Lucifer, the prince of darkness. And you probably have this vision in your mind of the little cartoon guy with the red horns and the pitchfork and the tail running around things. Okay, we need to let that go. That's not what I'm talking about. So there is an enemy, and he hates you. He hates your family. His job is to seek, kill, and destroy. And if you struggle with that, I'm just telling you, this is God's, we talked about God's word's my authority. This is what it says. But here's what I say. We're talking about the names of this person, Satan. The most accurate translation when it comes to this entity in the Bible is the word the accuser. That's the most accurate translation, is the accuser. And can I just say this? In the Bible, and I can just say it in my life too, that's the most clear definition of what it means. And if you still struggle with that, if you're still like, oh, I don't believe in that, how about this? Have you ever heard this voice in your head? You can't do that. Who do you think you are? Do you remember the last time you tried that? Do you remember the last time you talked to that person? Do you know what they're going to think about you if you do that? Who do you think you are? See, that's his job. It's the accuser. He constantly stands and he constantly accuses us. But I want to give you some hope. 1 Peter 5:8. Be alert and sober of mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. I've seen so many people be devoured by those thoughts in their mind. And they start doubting, and they start believing their accuser. Now, there's a couple things that I always want to talk about whenever I talk about this. And here's the first one. You maybe heard the phrase before, the devil made me do it. Everybody look right here. That's not even true. That's not even in the Bible. Devil can't make you do anything. Okay? He's an accuser. He'll constantly suggest things to you, continually, relentlessly. But God gave us the greatest gift of all. He gave us a choice, didn't he? See, everything that I failed in my life, it wasn't the devil that made me do it. It was Jeff Todd who did it. And we have to take responsibility for that. But here's the second thing, and I think this is more important. As we come to Halloween, I know there's a lot of talk about demons and things and scary things, so it's kind of appropriate to talk about it right now. If you are a child of God Almighty, you do not need to live in fear over the enemy. You have victory over him in the power of the Holy Spirit by Jesus Christ. There is no power in darkness that will ever overcome the power of Jesus Christ. So I don't understand. I know there's people that are believers that are like, oh, we need to be afraid of these. No, you don't. I don't know where that comes from. We have power and we have victory over Jesus Christ. If I just want to simplify it for you to make it as simple as possible, he is a liar. He wants you to believe lies about yourself and about other people that are not true. And he will stand and accuse you. And if you want to win the battle in your mind, you have to understand that that's not true. And you have to understand what your God says about you and who you are. Since other people's opinions affect us greatly. And the battles we have in our mind that the enemy can plant those seeds can affect us greatly. But if I can give you the third one, again, you want to write this down. The main thing that I battle in my life, I'm just being personal for a second, is ourself. The main battle that I fight in my life is me. It's that guy in the mirror. You know, there's a very spiritual song by a band called Lit. And the first line of it I absolutely love. It's no surprise to me I am my own worst enemy. Because every now and then, I won't finish it. For those of you who know this song, all right? It's true. It's no surprise to me I am my own worst enemy. The things that I do cause me trouble. And let's go back to what Paul says in Romans 7 again. I hope this helps you because it helps me. For I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. For I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil I want to do, this I keep doing. Can anyone else relate to that? I want to do good, but I can't. Every single time I fail. Listen, I hear this a lot, and I just want to address this for a second. I heard people say things, like they're a good person. I've actually heard people say, Pastor, you're such a good person. They're a good person. Let me help you with something. There's no good person. They're not. At our core, who we are sinful people. And if that's hard for you, I want to help you with something. See, if you struggle with that and you say, I'm basically a good person. No, you're not. And if you disagree with this, I have a challenge. I always issue this challenge. Nobody's taken me up on it yet. Maybe you will for the first time. My mom, who I love dearly, for the last 35 years has run an in-home daycare. Okay? So if you think people are born naturally good, you get to go and you get to volunteer at my mom's daycare. Okay? And you spend a couple hours there, and if you still feel that way, you're crazy. Right? We are born naturally selfish people. It's all about me. That's what kids think. And this is, I can't prove this biblically, so this is just Jeff talking, okay? So I just got to throw this in here. I think that's why God makes kids so cute, okay? Because let's be honest, we wouldn't put up with that stuff from anybody. But they're so cute, and they smile, and that's what we do. I think that's why. And I say that now because my kids are teenagers, and it's not so cute anymore. And we're like, I kind of want to do something. Anyway, I digress. Here's what I'm saying. Our default mode is to be self-centered. The focus is always on me. When I'm hungry, when I'm tired, it's always comes back to about me. And you know what the problem is? Maybe you have the same problem I have. The problem is not everyone in the world focuses on me. See, if you want to have the solution to that, everybody, if you guys want to value me as your pastor, just focus on me all the time, right? And I'll be good. Everything's right. But the problem is you have the same problem, don't you? We want the focus to be on me. We're not thinking about other people. And that's what causes battles in our minds. We are the center of our own universe, and we have to get over that. I got another one for you because I think this is so good. I think this could be life-changing. And I'm not trying to oversell it, but I just want you to think about this for a second. How many of you have ever been in a conversation with somebody and really, really, really had to go to the bathroom? Okay? Am I the only one? Okay. And you maybe you're really interested. Maybe you really want to hear what they have to say, but you're like, if I don't break this off soon, this is not going to end well. Okay? Do you had those conversations before? Okay. Here's what I want to say. And I mean this, and I think this is life-changing, so pay attention. Some of us need to take a spiritual bathroom break. Here's what I mean by that. Our body is designed by God to take in things, right? And there's certain pieces of that we just have to, let's just say, flush out every so often, okay? It's the same thing with our spirit. The more we're around people, the more we're around other people, we start absorbing that. And if you hold it in, if you don't spiritually just take a spiritual bathroom break, can I just say it that way? It's going to come out and it's not going to be pretty. How many of you have had those stories where you've done that before, right? Okay, that's what I'm saying. And I'm telling you, this is biblical. And I mean, if you read the Gospels, Jesus very often, he says he withdrew to a quiet place. Think about Jesus. Jesus was all around people all the time. And think about the first century. Not to go bathroom here, but it's important. Jesus had to go, right? And people are getting healed, and Jesus is like, listen, can you imagine there's a guy sitting right here. He can't walk. Jesus has just healed 100 people, right? And he's seen them been healed. And Jesus says, excuse me for a second. And he goes away from that person. What do you think that person thought? Here I come to get healed, and he heals all these people, and now he leaves me here. Jesus did that, right? Because Jesus maybe had to go. You know what else I think it was? I think Jesus, being God in human skin, said, I just need to get away from these people for a while. I just need to take a spiritual bathroom break. I'm just being honest with you, church. I think sometimes, and maybe this is helpful, and again, I think this can be life-changing. I think some of you, when you actually go to the physical bathroom, because we all have to go, okay, I think you need to have a spiritual bathroom break. And just say, this person, this thing, God, I just need you to take this away. And then we can go back, right? And we can listen to more, and we can see that. Because if we don't, can I just say this? It's not going to end pretty. It's not going to. See, we need to change our thinking. If we want to change our life, we need to change our thinking. So what I'm going to do, I don't want to just leave you with that. I want to give you some real feet. Part of this series is to say, okay, not just talk about it theoretically. How do I live this out? And you don't have to go in your Bibles, but write this down. 2 Corinthians 10, 3 and 5. It's going to be on the screen behind me. I'm going to read this passage to you, and then I'm going to give you 3 things that are real feet to put on to change your thinking. So let's just start off with, let's look at this passage. 2 Corinthians 10, verses 3 to 5. For though we live in a world, we do not wage war as the world does. The weapons we fight with are not weapons of this world. On the contrary, they have a divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought and make it obedient to Christ. So out of that passage, I'm going to give you 3 things. You want to write this down. If you want to win in your thinking, your note sheets are probably getting full. That's okay. Write this down. Feed your mind daily. Feed your mind daily. In our daily devotions this week, many of you probably read this, there was a statement that said, we spend more money in this country on beer than we do books, and we wonder why we have problems. What are you feeding your mind with? There's a lot of talk now about fake news, right? Fake news, oh, this fake news. Do you know how you avoid fake news? You feed your mind with God's word. You put the truth in, because what you feed on will come out of you. If I could say it this way, what you put in the front end will come out the back end, won't it? See, more bathroom humor. This is just a bathroom message, I guess, right? What you feed on matters. Feed your mind daily. And I'm going to go back to verse 3 and what we just read. For though we live in the world, we do not wage war as the world does. Do you know what the world wages war with? And you know this. Strength, overpowering, control. Those are the weapons of the world. Those have been the weapons of man from the beginning of time, right? The strongest king with the strongest army, they're the one that's in charge. They're the one that's rule. But it doesn't have to be that big. It can be at your job, can't it? People can overpower you, have strength over you, control you. That's how the world wages battle. And I'm just going to tell you, in my natural self, that's how I want to fight sometimes. I want to fight in those ways. But you know how God says we battle? These are God's weapons: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control. How are you feeding your mind? What you feed in will what come out to you. So I just want to ask you a question. What are you feeding on? Because how you're living your life is going to show what you're feeding on. If you want to change your thinking, change your life, change what you're feeding on every single day. Here's the second one. free your mind daily. Free your mind. You need to feed your mind, and then you need to free your mind. And I cannot say free your mind without invoking my sisters in Vogue, right? Free your mind, and the rest will follow. Come on. No, all right. Yeah, there you go. See? Free your mind. We need to free our minds. Shirley MacLaine said it this way: if you dwell on negativity, it simply contributes to its power. What are you focusing on? You will have battles with others. You will have battles with the enemy, the accuser in your mind. You will have your selfish thoughts, but you have to free yourself from them every day and free your mind. There was a speaker that was talking before a large crowd one time, and this is what he said. He said, the first thing that I do is I shut off my alarm, I stand up, I do some stretches, I thank God for the new day, and then I drop dead. And the crowd started laughing, and he said, no, you don't understand. I'm serious. I'm dead serious, no pun intended. This is what he said. If I'm going to win the battle in my mind, then I must announce to my carnal self, my selfish self, that it's dead. And I'm going to stand up and I'm going to start living for Jesus Christ. Church, that's a powerful thing to do. And even if you struggle in the morning, and even if you said, I don't get my Bible in the morning, all that stuff, I bet we can do that. I bet we could stand up or sit down or kneel and just say, God, I surrender my life to you today. I don't want there to be any of Jeff Todd. I just want it to be all of you. That's how we free our mind. Look at what verse 4 again says. This is such a good passage. The weapons we fight with are not weapons of this world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. See, these are the weapons that as followers of Jesus Christ, we've been given to fight with: prayer, the Holy Spirit, and other people in our lives. That's the weapons that we have. They have divine power to demolish strongholds. I don't know what you're facing in your life right now, and I'm not here to minimize it at all, but I'm here to tell you my God can help you free from it, whatever that would be. So we need to feed our mind daily. We need to free our mind daily. Here's number 3. We need to fix our mind daily. And I just added that, fix it on Jesus. You see, we have a choice every day. We can decide what we're going to feed on. We can decide what we're going to free our life from. And we can decide what we can focus on. We have that choice. We cannot control our circumstances. I can't control what other people say, what other people do, what the weather is outside. We can't control those things. But every day we have a choice to fix our mind. And I'm going to choose to fix it on Jesus Christ. I'm going to be like Ryan and Michelle O'Connor. And I'm going to say, even in the valley, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to praise my God. I might not understand it. I might not get it. But I'm going to fix my mind every day on Jesus Christ. Martin Luther had a quote that I'm sure maybe you've heard before, but it's so powerful. This is what he says: I can't stop the birds from flying over my head, but I can sure stop them from building a nest in my head. Every day, church, we have to fix our mind. And that's why Jesus said, pick up your cross daily and follow me. Every day, it's a decision that we need to make. Look at what verse 5 says. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Jesus Christ. I love that phrasing, demolish arguments. When the accuser comes with those things, when he reminds you of your past and your failures and what other people think, you demolish those arguments. And every pretension against what God says. When you start feeling worthless, when you start feeling ugly, when you start feeling like you can't do anything right, you take those thought captives and you make it obedient to Jesus Christ. You say, I'm not going to think that way anymore. And this is something, church, you've heard me say this, I battle this myself. Don't think because I stand up here and I have a microphone that my life is perfect and that I got everything figured out. There are days when I have the same doubts and the same insecurities. And my weapons are God's word. My weapons are my prayer life. But can I tell you the other thing that I fight with? God's people. And you keep hearing me say this. I have people in my life who love me dearly, who aren't going anywhere. And they also love Jesus. And if you don't have that, if you're watching online right now and you don't have someone like that in your life, welcome home. Because there's a whole bunch of people in this room who do that and who want to battle with you. And that we can feel comfortable with and saying, listen, I'm really struggling with this. I really need some prayer because in my mind right now I'm thinking this way. And we can look at you and we can say, we love you. That's wrong. You need to change your thinking. You need to take it captive and make it obedient to Christ. Because church, if we want to be the real McCoy, That's what we're called to do. Take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. John Maxwell is a fantastic author. I love his books. If you haven't ever read any Maxwell stuff, you should get it and read it. But he wrote a story called The Parable of the Bird, and I just love this. There's a bird who lived in Canada who made the decision, I'm not flying south this winter. I'm tired of it. Well, the other birds thought he was crazy because this is all that birds do, but this little bird was resolute. So the other birds took off without him. Now he was a lone bird, but he was pleasantly surprised by the stretch of mild weather that seemed to linger long into the fall. I knew it, he said. I was right until winter hit in full force in December. He realized his error, and immediately he got up and took flight. He only made it as far as Montana, for there in the midair he froze and tumbled to the ground, landing in a farmyard, laying there freezing, knowing he was going to die. He said, I'm so stupid. But just then, a cow walked by and dropped a giant cow pie on the top frozen bird. At first he thought, well, this is just insult to injury, but something interesting started to happen. The warmth from the you-know-what started to make the bird thaw. Oh, he said, my goodness, this is great. And he started singing a song of praise. Well, the farmer's cat heard the singing and came over to the bird. And much to the bird's delight, began to lick the bird off and clean him off. And the bird thought this is great until the cat ate him. Now, Maxwell teaches us 3 lessons from this, and I think they're important. Not everyone who dumps on you is your enemy. That's important to know, church. Not everyone who dumps on you is your enemy. Here's the second thing he says. Not everyone who cleans you up is your friend. Also important to know. He added the third one. When you get dumped on, it's best to keep your mouth shut. But let me add one more thing to Maxwell's story. Don't go at it alone. Remember the beginning of that story? What did the bird say? I got this. I don't need the birds to fly. I can stay here. I can figure this out. Church, I can tell you story after story of people that thought, I got this. I don't need to come on Sunday. I don't need to be part of a life group. I don't need to do a daily devotion. I got it. I can figure it out. And then, when they figure it out, it's usually too late. And they find themselves frozen laying in a field. And I tell you this from the bottom of my heart, until Jesus calls me home, we are going to be a church that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to walk in and say, I feel like I got dumped on this week. And I just need somebody just to come alongside me and just sit with me and love me. And church, I can't tell you how proud I am of you. And I've seen this over and over. I could stand up here for the next 10 minutes and just tell you of story after story of people in our church who have really just grabbed this idea and just said, listen, I'm going to be that church. I'm going to love people, and I'm going to share that. Man, that's exactly what we need to be. And I can't tell you why things happen in life. I don't know why kids die. I don't know why people get cancer. I don't know why your mom or dad did whatever they did to you. I don't know why that person at work drives you crazy. I don't know why. But I know that we're in a battle, and we're battling other people's opinions. We're battling the accuser, and we're battling my own selfishness. And if we want to go ahead and put those back up on the screen, those 3 things that are so important that we need to do every day. How do we win our thinking? We need to feed our mind. What are you feeding your mind with? I love cell phones. I do. I think they're great. There's a lot of bad things for them, yes. But I'm telling you, I don't care who you are, if you have one of these and you use it, you have 5 minutes a day that you can pull up God's word. You can download YouVersion, you can look at it, you can see it. And for the rest of the series, I'm just going to encourage you, every day, read that devotion. Just click on it, see it. It's going to make what are you feeding your mind? If you don't like what you see in your life, what are you feeding your life? We need to free our mind. We need to make that choice to say, listen, I can't control this person. I can't control this circumstance, but this is what I can do, and I'm going to choose to make that decision. We all have that battle going on in our mind. We need to make that choice to free our mind. And the last thing is so important. We need to fix our mind on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, scorning its shame and sitting down at the right hand of the Father, so every man, woman, and child that you will see this week can have a relationship with him. can know that they're loved, can know that death is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of the new life. But we don't live and exist as a church so one day we can go to heaven. We live and exist as a church so heaven can come down to earth right now. And one day my Jesus is going to come back and he's going to put everything right. But in the meantime, church, can I just say it? We got some work to do. We got to go out there and we got to love people, even if they're unlovable. We got to go out there and we've got to be the example of Jesus Christ, even if we get made fun of, even if we get shamed. And we got to quit believing the lies of the accuser, because there is an enemy and he's warring around like a devouring lion waiting to destroy you. But my God already has the victory. He's already crushed his head on the cross. Let's pray. God, it's really easy for me to stand up here with a microphone, but I got a big problem. In a moment, I have to put this microphone down and I got to go live out what you just taught. That's the hard part. And God, I don't know where this message lands with the people here in this room or anybody watched online, but God, I know that it was from you. And I'm going to trust by the power of the Holy Spirit that whatever you're doing right now in the hearts and minds of people listening here in the room or watching online, that maybe there's something that you're just really prompting them, that there's something in their life they got to take care of. Maybe there's a lie that they've been believing their entire life that they need to just let go of. God, I pray that you would give them the wisdom and the courage on how to confess that to you or to someone else. God, maybe there's something in our life that we've just been trapped by and we need to be free from. And God, maybe there's somebody here or somebody watching online who has never made that decision to say, Jesus, I want to make you Lord of my life. God, I'm gonna surrender that to you. God, we're selfish, self-centered people. And if we live just for ourselves, it's not only going to create problems in this life, it's going to be a separation for all eternity. Those stakes are huge. So God, I pray that today would be the day that we would stand up and we would say yes to you. And we would surrender our life to you. And we would say, Jesus, thank you for the gift that you gave us. And I'm sorry for the things that I've done. Jesus, there's nothing good in me, but you're a good God. And you love me even when I'm unlovable. And I freely choose to accept the gift that you've given in Jesus' name. And God, that's not a magic formula prayer. That's just a heart issue. And your Bible teaches, your word teaches us, if we confess with our mouth that Jesus is Lord and we believe in our heart that you raised him from the dead, we will be saved. Not for our benefit, but that we would become a disciple and that we would go and we would share your love in our families, in our jobs, in our neighborhoods, and right here in this room on October 31st. God, I thank you that we get the opportunity to be your church. I love you and I praise you and ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.